Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Ahmad Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. It is February the 1st. We are officially in contract restructure season. Also, we're officially in combine season. We're in everything season. There's going to be some free agent talk start to heat up as you slowly creep up on March. So we're going to cover all that along the way. What I thought we would do in today's episode is let's kind of take a step back, reset the board, and talk about the positions of need for the Packers. We're going to talk offensive line prospects. We're going to talk cornerback prospects. We're also going to talk defensive tackle prospects. Now, some people may not see it as a bigger need for the Green Bay Packers. You guys know it's such an important position. If you watch this show, we talk about it all the time. We think it's such an important position. You should always be looking to improve. And we're going to talk about why it probably doesn't make sense to take a defensive tackle at 52 unless something unforeseen happens on the draft board, unless someone falls that you go, oh, we cannot pass up on him. The good news is the draft board in terms of offensive line really kind of caters to the need of the Packers and specifically interior offensive line. You know, like we talk about Brian Parker, an offensive tackle out of Duke. Well, it's looking like he's being projected as the interior offensive line. I've had several people reach out and point that out like, hey, it looks like he's going to be an interior offensive line. Kind of reminds you of, and his name's escaping me right now, it was the center either last year or the year before. His last name started with a B, I believe, for Duke. That was guard and tackle, and he ended up projecting to a center. Now, I don't know if he played center. I think he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kind of reminds me of that mold of a player. But nonetheless, we will continue to dive into the offensive line because it's real heavy. That really caters to the Packers' needs, which is a great thing. Cornerback, another need for the Packers potentially, right? Now, we don't know if they see it as much of a need as us fans do. I think we would all agree, yeah, we do need to improve the cornerback room as much as we can. Now, maybe Trayvon Diggs is a short-term answer to that. We'll find out in the coming days. But that's what we got on tap today, D-line, cornerback, offensive line. Before we get into it, if you would, well, first of all, Dave, see, you got it. Graham Barton. Thank you, Dave. I knew somebody would know it there. There you go. I got the B right, so we're good. Before we dive into everything, if you would, do that YouTube stuff for me, guys. Hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We're not experts. We are not insiders. We're not media members. We don't claim to be any of that. What we are fans just like you, and you're talking about the team we love, the Green Bay Packers, on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon. And of course, the best way to support what we do here at PTA is join our Patreon group, patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. Also, there's going to be an overflow of podcasts going out now. Okay. Let me explain what's going on here. So we're still going to be putting a number of our podcast audios on Packernet Podcast. Okay. Me and Ryan have talked and we've kind of worked out some stuff behind the scenes and a plan moving forward. So we're still going to get episodes on Packernet. However, there's going to be an overflow channel. So if you guys are watching or listening to this on podcast, however you're consuming the content, if it's on YouTube or whatever, you listen to podcasts, go look up Packer Fan Total Access, okay? On Spotify, we're already up on Spotify. There's also going to be multiple platforms that's going to go on iTunes. I just got to work that in and get that submitted today. So again, extra content there in terms of audio podcasts, but we'll always be live here on YouTube and X as well. So again, appreciate everybody jumping in and supporting the show. We had a bunch of people in here for a Sunday morning. This is awesome, man. Appreciate y'all on a random Sunday on February 1st, hopping in here and talking ball. Let's get into the first topic, and that's defensive line. You're probably going, Clayton, why are we starting with defensive line? That's not really a top need, although we would take one if a stud falls. We've kind of done it the opposite, right? We've really leaned heavily into offensive line. We'll hit that last, and we'll hit cornerback right in the middle. So I thought, let's start with defensive line. I don't want to neglect this, right? I don't want to steer away from the fact that we always talk about three techs are so important, right? And defensive tackle in general, but three techs, you guys know if you got a dominant a dominant nose tackle, he can play three tech as well. Sometimes you got a guy that's just a three tech and can't play nose, or sometimes you got a nose that can't play three tech. But what I want to do is talk about the top defensive line prospects according to our board. Okay, so keep in mind what we're looking for is the final grade on our board as it sits right now. And again, this is going to continue to shuffle. It's going to continue to maneuver. If you guys are a part of our Patreon group, you've got access to this. You've already seen this happen, right? You're already seeing guys start to shuffle around. It's going to shuffle big time when we get the Dane Brugler data in, when we get Daniel Jeremiah's full list in, when we get the RASs in, Greg Cosell bonus, the whole 9 yards. Everything's going to continue to shuffle around, all right? And also, Walter football aspect of our draft board. If you guys think there's somebody else you would rather us use rather than Walter football, because we did use the 33rd team, we don't have access to their data now. It seems like they're doing some things a little bit different this year. So if you have someone else you would rather have represent there, I'm not saying we'll choose it, but I'd like to hear everybody's voice in the Patreon group. You guys let me know in the Patreon group, okay? You can do it on the draft board link chat would be the best way to put that. Say, hey, I would like to see this implemented. And it could be, Trevor Sickleman. It could be whoever, right? So let me know who your favorites are. All right, defensive line prospects. Here we go. Caden McDonald leading the way. 25.2 is the final grade. Okay, the average before Daniel Jeremiah's 33 spot was 17.3. So the numbers I really want you to key in on is the consensus big board going in. They had him at 21. We've got a 25.2 grade on Caden McDonald. Okay, now, will he be around when the Packers pick at 52? I feel comfortable saying absolutely not. Right now, with that being said, if he were to fall to 52, that would be a great value pick. I think we would all agree. So again, 25.2 is where he lands. Caleb Banks is the number 2 defensive tackle out of Florida. He was at the Senior Bowl. We did not give a Senior Bowl bonus. Keep in mind, guys, we're trying to be really stingy with the bonuses because you get some websites that they're going to prop up certain universities, right? They're going to prop up certain prospects because they want that pipeline to continue to grow into the NFL because it makes it easier to recruit in college. Hey, look, we're an NFL pipeline. So we're being real stingy with these things. There's only two defensive linemen that got bonuses for the All-Star week. That was Lee Hunter, and that was Rayshon Benny out of Michigan, okay? And Rayshon Benny significantly lower on the list. However, that's a good value pick at the very bottom. Let's fall back to Caleb Banks. So, again, Senior Bowl participant, currently was in the 29 spot on the consensus big board. We have a grade of 31.2 on him. So that's right there in that range. That would be a good pick around 29. If he were to fall to 52, absolutely. All right. Next, one of my draft crushes, and we'll see if he maintains a draft crush. Hey, look, man, things get old, right? We may move on from Kristen Miller. But Kristen Miller, defensive tackle out of Georgia, was currently sitting in the 33 spot. We gave him a 32.0 grade, so a great pick right there at the end of the first round, in my opinion. Some people will treat that tier 1 position of importance, 3-tech defensive tackle, with a little more value. So they may reach on him a bit. They may reach a tier, if you will, right? That could be the case as well. So, again, he's sitting there with a 32 grade. Again, low number wins, guys. Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. The consensus big board has him in the 9 spot. The PFF big board has him in the PFF big board has him in the 9 spot. The consensus big board has him at 12. We've got a 36.7 grade on him, guys. And again, it's got a lot to do with the PFF grade, his final year in college, although we do pull the 26th highest graded PFF grade, which is a solid grade there from 24. But the main thing that's propping him up is where he sits on the PFF big board and the consensus big board. Okay. Daniel Jeremiah seems to agree more with us. He's got him in a 34 spot, while the consensus big board had him as a borderline and in some cases a top 10 pick. Walter football had him at 23rd. So he lands there with a 36.7. So again, at 52, absolutely run the card on Peter Woods. Would definitely take him, right? So he's probably going to be gone. He'll be long gone, I believe, because I do think he will be drafted significantly higher. And keep in mind, I'm not saying our board is better than anything else and we're going to knock this out of the park. We've been really, really good in the past. And I say we like as if, it's not my opinion of these prospects. If we got new people here, understand, I didn't watch the prospects and go, here's where I would rank these guys. I'm sorry, man. I don't know if it's a lack of an ego or just, or maybe it's a lack of, what am I trying to say? Self-confidence, but I don't trust myself enough to watch the tape and truly grade out players. I don't. So I like to take people that I trust across the draft community, put all this information into one pot and come up with a grade, if you will. So again, Peter Woods, probably going to be gone at 52 with a 36.7 grade. Next, Lee Hunter. This is a lot of people's draft crush, dominated during the Senior Bowl week. He's a guy that was sitting in the 48 spot on the consensus big board, okay? So this is why I like to get the information in early. We had him sitting in the 48 spot, the consensus big board did. PFF big board had him at 53. We have a 49.1 grade on him. So people are going to skyrocket Lee Hunter to the top of the list, right? He's probably going to creep up. I wouldn't be surprised if he creeps up in the top 20. And keep in mind, before the Senior Bowl week, they had him at 48. That's why I like to get that information in early so we're not swayed too far in our opinion, right, by the Senior Bowl. He gets a 5-point bonus. Daniel Jeremiah going into Senior Bowl week, keep in mind this isn't after Senior Bowl, had him at 26. Walter Football had him at 80. Now, one of those seem like they don't belong. That seems really low for me from Walter Football, but his grade of 49.1 is what we came up with. So if Lee Hunter falls to 53, I would be okay with taking him, right? That's a slam dunk. Absolutely. He's worthy of the 52nd pick. No doubt about it. We got a 49.1 grade. It's a position of tier 1 importance. Some people believe he can kick over to 3-tech. He's a massive human being. And again, it's all about situational deployment when you get to the National Football League, right? So I'm okay with Lee Hunter being drafted. However, when we go to draft and there's a Jennings Dunker that's like 23rd or 24th on our board, whatever he lands at right now, the value is too great for those other guys. Too many tiers up to just go, oh, well, Lee Hunter's a dog. We better take him here, right? That's called reaching for need when you do that. And when you stick to the board, it just so happens you need offensive linemen too. So essentially what you're saying is you're willing to pass up on, if you're willing to take Lee Hunter just because he's a defensive tackle and we've got him at a 49.1 and we're going to pass up on somebody in the 20s, let's say a 25 grade, just because it's a little, it may be I don't even know if it's a little bit more of a position of need, but it's a tier 1 position of importance. You're talking about potentially passing up on an all-pro, right? A top 20 talent, a top 25 talent that could potentially be an all-pro, and taking a guy that may not even start right out of the gate, because let's be honest, a 49.1 is a second-round grade, right? Most of the time they don't expect second-rounders to start. I mean, look, Edgerrin Cooper is a dominant stackbacker, right? We love Edgerrin Cooper. We took him in the second round. Took him a little while to get his feet under him before the coaching staff felt comfortable to get him out there because he was making mental mistakes, right? He didn't understand the defense. So I'm not opposed to taking Lee Hunter, but there's going to be, I think, other players that are going to rank significantly higher at other positions of need where you go, man, I can't pass up on those. It's just too much value there. It's too good of a football player. So next on the list, Darrell Jackson. Now, some people thought he had a great week. I heard others say he was inconsistent, so he didn't get a bonus. If you guys have information on why he should be a bonus on Senior Bowl, hit me up in the Patreon group, okay? Make sure you hit me up in there, and we'll consider it. Again, I'm not going to just go changing things in the draft board and how we've done it over the years just because, one or two people think, hey, this guy's a stud. But I love more information is better than less, okay? So Darrell Jackson, 86.0 is the grade, 99th on the consensus big board. That's a guy in that 84 range or wherever we're picking at there. I think it's 84 or 87. I can't even remember the pick. But in the 80s, I would be totally okay with taking Darrell Jackson. Now, if Lee Hunter somehow, some ways falls to the 80, oh my God, like if Walter Football's got it right and he's truly an 80th overall talent and he falls that far, run the card on him. Are you kidding me? So the whole point of doing these exercises, guys, is to try to figure out where can we find a player of great value at what part in the draft. So Caden McDonald going to be gone. Caleb Banks going to be gone. Kristen Miller going to be gone. Peter Woods going to be gone. Lee Hunter is the first defensive tackle that, okay, he may potentially be there, although I expect him to start to rocket up board, so he'll probably be gone at 52 as well. With all that being said, if any of those 5 players I just mentioned fall to us at 52, hell of a pick. Well worth. That's if Goody's board looks like ours, right? So just wanted to point that out. Now, some other names here on this list that might be good value, and I know it's not a sexy pick. Caleb Proctor, defensive tackle out of Southwestern Louisiana. He was at the East-West Shrine Bowl. 100.3 is the grade we got on him, guys. The consensus big board had him at 209. If you can get somebody like Caleb Proctor, later in the draft, let's say he drops, to around the 150 mark, and you can get him way later in the draft, that's a heck of a pick. So don't sleep on someone like that. Skylar Gill Howard's another one. The consensus big board had him at 184. Okay. We have a 105.7 grade on him. So you're seeing better value on defensive tackles later in the draft. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's how the board is kind of shaken out here. So as Mike Z here says, take emotions and a splash play out of picks instead of the whole body of work is a mistake made often. I completely agree. It's very well said, Mike. And listen, I want to do it more than anyone. Are you kidding me? Did you see the way that Bo Stevens, that punch and pull move, and just, I mean, slammed a 320-pound defensive lineman right on his face and then stood over him like, you okay, little man? You see stuff like that and go, give me that guy. But you got to remove those one or two splash plays. And Bo Stevens is high on our board. We'll talk about him here in a minute on offensive line. I'm just simply pointing out, like, that's a great point, Mike. You kidding me? The Iowa waterfall on Jennings Dunker, that's enough to draft that dude. Trade up in the top 10 and take him, right? I'm being sarcastic, but like, we get our favorites from that type of stuff, right? So we got to be really careful, and that's what I love about the board. Stick to the board, right? Stick to the board. Make sure these guys are grading out where they belong to go in the draft. And again, you're going to find guys that are low on our list that are going to be studs. You're going to find guys high on our list that end up being busts. It happens every year. Every general manager in the National Football League misses on prospects. The goal is just try to miss on as few as possible. And as you guys can probably tell, our board is geared more towards what the tape shows as opposed to All-Star Week, RAS and Combine and Pro Days and all that, and personal opinion, right? So Skylar Gill Howard, one to keep an eye on. Dante Corleone is one that I don't think is a great pick, okay? And the reason being, some people have him at 90, like Consensus Big Board had him at 91. PFF Big Board has him at 59. We've got a 109.2 on him. So that's a reach. You know what I'm saying? That's a reach. If someone's willing to take him at 59, that feels like a big reach there. DeMonte Capehart, we've got a 125.7 on him. That's about where the Consensus Big Board has him at 134, and PFF Big Board has him at 165. So that wouldn't be a bad pick there, right? Around that mark. Grayson Halton. And if you notice any of these guys that are going back to college, I've tried to filter through several times. But, man, it's wild how people are filing lawsuits and appeals to go back and get a 6-year of college and this and that. Like, we're still waiting for Trinidad Chambliss is he actually going to play college football or not? He still may enter the draft, but he's waiting on that appeal. So that's a really, really interesting situation. As of right now, I don't think he's on our board because he's trying to go back to college, and he'll probably be granted that. We got college players 73 years old playing college football now, which is wild. I wonder what classes they're taking. Right. Dominic Big Citrus Orange, defensive tackle out of Iowa State, 129.0. I know he was a fan favorite like Chris N. I think Chris N's kind of cooled down on him a little bit, but, in the beginning, I was excited about him too. You get the information in the board. We got a 129 on him, guys. 129. He was 69th on the Consensus Big Board and 65th on the PFF Big Board. Big Citrus, man. Name, big body, love the dude, charismatic, right? Man, 129 grade with the 69th pick it's a reach according to our board, right? So we've kind of cooled off on him a little bit. And that may change. We'll see as more data goes into the board. Tim Keenan, the third defensive tackle out of Alabama, 134.0. That's about where the Consensus Big Board has him at 138. PFF has him around 129, so that's about where he belongs. Nick Barrett, defensive tackle out of South Carolina, 145.5. Again, Consensus Big Board 189s where they had him. That would be a solid pick around the 140 mark, something like that. And then Rayshon Benny, defensive tackle out of Michigan, had a strong Senior Bowl week. And we've got a 150.3 on him, guys. The Consensus Big Board has him at 316. Imagine getting a guy with a 150.3 grade in the 7th round. That'd be awesome. That'd be a solid pick, right? So, again, what did we learn? The reason we do these exercises together as fans is to try to understand how is the board laying out at the moment, right? How's it laying out at the moment? Where are these guys kind of projecting to go? What grade do we got? You're seeing the value kind of fall into place at Lee Hunter, Darrell Jackson, Caleb Proctor, and then you want to stay away from prospects like a Dante Corleone, right? Because that's a bit of a reach, and a Dominic Orange. So, again, we'll see how the board shifts moving forward. That's how the board is designed to work. And again, this is the vertical board, right? We're breaking down the vertical board. When you get the horizontal board and the tiers are laid into place, man, the board talks to you. I love it. I'm getting excited right now because you could kind of see, okay, in the first round, we got a cluster of these players. Well, we could probably wait till later. Let me give you a spoiler alert. Offensive line, you're probably going to want to, it's like a slam dunk pick in the second round. However, if you wait till the third, you can get really good value there. So what's that mean? Corner might be the way to go in the second round. And we'll break that down next, as a matter of fact. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the defensive line prospects that we just broke down? Do you agree? Do you disagree with our board? Is there a prospect you like more than others? Let us know in the comments how you feel. I love having these conversations with you guys afterwards. I know everybody can't catch the live stream, so when you guys comment later on the videos, it's awesome just to get in there and kind of, all right, let's see how the entire fan base is feeling. So make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on videos like this and future live streams as well. All right, guys, let's move along now to cornerback. Now, again, I'm not saying cornerback is a top position of need. We've talked about offensive line is that, right? We've kind of already discussed that. Let's go to cornerback, because I do feel like it's our second position of need, at least the way I'm sitting right now, okay? And when it comes to the cornerbacks here in the draft, we're going to do the same exact process, okay? We're going to walk through, and let me make sure I didn't miss any. Okay, yeah, I didn't miss any super chat. If you guys get super chats in, I will keep an eye on at the end of every segment. I'll make sure I hit those, okay? And appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys are. Let me hit these chats real quick. There's a couple in there. Margin Cron, this draft deserves a player from Iowa. Go Pack. Listen, Margin Cron, I know what you're saying. Every year there's a team that you go, dang, they got a lot of prospects, right? You know, usually it's Ohio State and this, and maybe Ohio State does have a ton of overall prospects, but Iowa is the team that really has kind of screamed to the forefront at the moment, man, for sure. Chris N says, big Iowa supporter around here. Hopefully another Brian Balaga. So you guys see, I mean, it's Iowa prospects this year. I mean, they're off the charts. They really are, especially at offensive line. That's wild. You got 3 that could potentially start in the NFL in year 1. That's a wild thing. Dave C says, let's just cheat and make a first-round pick anyway. I wish we could, bub. I wish we could. We'll probably do a mock draft a little later today. I got some snow removal and stuff to do down here, so we'll try to get into that a little bit later, see if we can play around. We might do some trading in the mock draft. I don't know. So, all right, let's move along. Cornerbacks. So at the cornerback position, same exact process that we did earlier. Top cornerback prospects coming out of All-Star Week. And you can see here, we got our boy Chris Johnson. He's the one that keeps popping up to me, guys. He's the guy that kind of keeps, every time we go to do a mock draft, every time I'm looking at the board where good value is, Chris Johnson seems to be right there at the top or near the top of the list of, wow, this would be a great pick at this pick right here. So here's what we got. And I'm probably going to butcher some of these names, so I apologize. You've got Mansour Delaney, cornerback out of LSU, a 9.7 grade on him. And again, if you guys recognize someone that's going back to college, let me know in the Patreon group in the draft board link, and we will make sure we remove them, okay? 9.7 is our grade on him. Consensus Big Board had him at 13. PFF Big Board had him at 14. Okay, so he's going to be long gone when the Packers pick. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 8. This is the best corner in the draft as it sits right now, right? It's just, it is. Next on the list, Ahmad McCoy, Tennessee guy, cornerback out of University of Tennessee, 11.8 grade. He's sitting in the 14 spot in the Consensus Big Board. And then we've got him in the 12 spot on the PFF Big Board, another guy that's going to be long gone. So what you're noticing is your top 2 corners in the draft, most likely going to be top 10 picks, definitely top 15 picks, unless something goes awry, of course. That's Mansour Delaney out of LSU, and then Ahmad McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee, a couple SEC guys there. Now you get to our boy Chris Johnson, all right, cornerback out of San Diego State. And I'm going to start getting the captain patches in. I did notice it on this picture, so obviously Chris Johnson, a captain. But our grade of 25.3. He does get the 5-point bonus. Keep in mind that Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in the top 50, okay? And Walter Football did not as well. That's a good thing for us. Now, where did the Consensus Big Board have him? 46. Where does the PFF Big Board have him? 43. So he's probably going to be nabbed a few picks before where we go if the draft were to start today. So when you look at Chris Johnson, would love to have him at pick 52. You kidding me? Run the damn card. He balled out at Senior Bowl week, team captain, the second highest graded cornerback in all of college football last year, according to PFF. That'd be a great pick at 52. So he's the one that's really pops right out of the gate for me. Next on the list is Avion Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. 26.4 is the grade. 18th on the Consensus Big Board, 18th on the PFF Big Board. Okay. So that's, at 52, absolutely we would take him. He's probably going to go somewhere around the 20 mark or maybe 25, and that's about where he should go. Next is Keith Abney, cornerback out of Arizona State, 31.7 grade. He's 42nd on the consensus big board, 35th on the PFF big board. All right. Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. So we got 2 Tennessee corners. I will tell you this. Jermod McCoy, we need to light him up red, and I'll try to do that today if I don't forget. He had a knee injury, I think an ACL at the end of the 24 season. They were expecting him back this year, expecting him back. He never made it back. Okay, so he didn't play any football this year at Tennessee. And the surprise for UT, I'm just about an hour away from Knoxville, so I kind of keep up with this stuff pretty close here with the balls. Colton Hood, I mean, he really stepped up. It was like, dang, is Colton Hood as good as Jermod McCoy? I think the answer is no if McCoy is healthy, but Colton Hood is an interesting prospect. We got a 34.5 on him. Consensus big board has him at 31. Probably be gone when we pick. D'Angelo Pons, cornerback out of Indiana. Senior Bowl participant, 39.1 is his grade, 62nd on the PFF big board. So right now you've got 2 names that our board is saying, hey, these might be great picks. Chris Johnson out of San Diego State, D'Angelo Pons out of the national championship Indiana Hoosiers football team. Okay, those are 2 that really pop. Now here's the problem with Pons. All the draft experts will come sliding into the DMs and into the mentions on X and go, he's too small. Could be the case. They may look at him like he's too small. He don't play small on the football field, though. That dude's a damn dog. And in the past, we've passed up on people like Brian Branch and others because people are going, oh, they're too small. They get to the league, and they're like Tasmanian devils out there. Now, go back to what Bobby Babich, our new defensive passing game coordinator, said when he was in Buffalo. What I try to do, I try to pretend these players are just shadows. They're silhouettes. I can't see their height. I can't see their weight. I can only watch what they put on tape. Maybe that's going to shift in Green Bay. Now, Goody, like I said before, may look at Bobby Babich and go, that's a cute little fella. Sit down. I'll make the draft picks around there. Could be. But I'm telling you, you take what Bobby Babich says and then you put silhouettes on all these players, D'Angelo Pons one that's going to jump off the freaking page. So we got Jacob joining us here now. Jacob, we're just diving into the cornerback room. You got anything you want to add up to this point, man, before we continue down this list, try to find some gems here?
No, I mean, the chat seems to agree that Pons is kind of a dog. I just roll out of bed, so excuse me if I look like a absolute loser right now. But I was wondering, what are your thoughts on Devin Moore out of Florida?
Devin Moore, well, he is way down on our list, okay? And this is where it gets really strange, Jacob. Check this out. And check your mic for me if you don't care, man. I think it stole your mic like it does. And hopefully it didn't steal mine. Let me know if I sound like I'm in a can here too. Devin Moore, cornerback out of Florida. He was at the Senior Bowl. We've got a 152.3 grade on him, okay? 152.3. Consensus Big Board has him at 75. So they're saying he's going to be long gone before he gets to the point where we think there's enough value to take him. Here's what's wild, Jacob. The PFF Big Board has him at 339. So PFF is saying he's undraftable, and the Consensus Big Board is saying he's a top 75 prospect. We're saying 152.3.
Where do we have Keontae Scott?
Keontae Scott's very interesting. We hadn't got to him yet. He was a couple more down. We've got a 45.7 on him, 73rd on the Consensus Big Board, 54th on the PFF Big Board. I'd be okay with taking him at 52. The problem, Jacob, is you're probably going to have a handful of players that, according to our board, are worthy of a top 32 pick, a top 40 pick. And it's like, okay, do we reach for a need? But yeah, I would be okay with that pick for sure. What we're going to run into is according to our board, when we get to that pick, and we're going to talk offensive line here in a minute, but when you get to our pick at 52, I think you're going to have a cluster of offensive linemen where you go, hey, any of these guys would be great right here. You got maybe 2 or 3 cornerbacks that would be good. And you go, okay, do we try to wait on offensive line and get the pick of the litter of the cornerback there? Or do we trade back and potentially miss out on both of these corners that we may like? Because you called one out here, Keontae Scott, D'Angelo Pons, Chris Johnson. Those are 3 that I'm like at 52. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. So to answer your question, in that situation, you probably have to trade back, right? And I don't think anybody wants to do that. So it's interesting. If you did trade back 5 picks, you pick up an extra pick and you could probably still get an offensive lineman in the third round and still get a cornerback in the second round and feel good about your draft board. So yeah, Keontae Scott, though, Jacob, to answer your question, he's high on the board, and it's also worth mentioning. Now, our board has a 45.7. Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in his top 50, so he may be 51, which would be okay, right about where we want him to be, right? But we don't know as of right now. So, and one we didn't mention, Brandon. I don't know how to say the last name. I don't know if it's Sice or Cisse or Cisse or what. Cornerback out of South Carolina. It's spelled Cisse. So I need to look up that one and put it on my board, on my desk, so I don't continue to botch these names. We got a 42.4 on him, Jacob. Consensus Big Board had him at 30, unfortunately. PFF Big Board had him at 32. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 31. Walter Football had him as high as 13. So he'll probably be gone, but that's one that would be worthy of the 52nd pick too.
Okay. And like you said, we did the episode just the other day where we talked about, there's a lot of intriguing interior O linemen and, just O linemen in general. It's like, yeah, it's tough. Like, I think we talked about this last year too. It's like, it's a tough decision to make, to figure out, like, do you take a shot at a guy that you think could be a really up and coming starter on the O-line, or do you really want to move back, like you said, or at least give take the chance that maybe you're going to miss on a guy like a cornerback. And I know that a lot of people, they'll still bring up freaking what's his name, Cooper. It's just what's going to happen over and over every draft. They feel like that we missed on this or that guy. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's what happens in the draft. Like, you're
every GM. That happens every GM.
Yeah. It's not going to always end out well. So it's an interesting situation to be in for sure. What do you think about Will Lee III? Do we have him on the draft board there?
We do. We've got a 134.3 on. This is really interesting because 134.3, Consensus Big Board has him at 86. So they're saying he'll be long gone before it makes sense for us to draft him, according to our board. Walter Football had a 35 on him. So they had him the 35th best prospect. The problem is Daniel Jeremiah didn't have him in the top 50. I'm going to be honest. I trust DJ over Walter Football. You're talking about a former scout and Daniel Jeremiah, right? So former NFL scout, I should say. So, that's where he at. That one would not make sense to me. There was another player. Julian Neal was one that was interesting. Julian Neal out of Arkansas, 82.0. The Consensus Big Board had him at 67. And, of course, the PFF Big Board had him at 87. So if he were to fall to us in the 80s, it would make sense. You could justify it based off the grade, but I have a feeling there's going to be about 15 other prospects that you have a significantly higher grade on that it wouldn't make sense for Julian Neal. That's another one I've kind of tried to troubleshoot that one a little bit. Now, Chandler Rivers out of Duke, 67.0. Consensus Big Board had him at 98. So that's one. If he falls to 98 and you nab him in the 80s, that's a scenario where you could potentially take one with the third round pick and go offensive line with your 52nd pick. Yeah. So, and what we did understand too, just a little side note, we just did a defensive tackle breakdown, and there was very few that made sense at 52. So it's like most of these guys, we're going to find ourselves in no man's land when it comes to defensive tackle. So it really does. It feels like it's narrowing in the greater chance at 52 of taking a offensive lineman or a cornerback. So,
okay.
Any other ones that come to mind for you before we move along here, man?
No, I mean, those are kind of just the ones that popped off the page for me. But I couldn't log into my stupid NFL Network thing, and then I had to get to work yesterday again unexpectedly, so I didn't get to watch the Senior Bowl. Was there anyone that kind of popped off the page or popped off the screen, I should say, for you in the cornerback or the secondary in that game?
Yeah, it's Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. He's the only cornerback that we've gave a Senior Bowl bonus to yet. And again, I'm going to continue to comb through. There may be a few more that get implemented, but I try to be stingy with those bonuses because you've got some people in the media, they think everybody had a great Senior Bowl. We'd have 5-point bonuses everywhere, right? I use anything that Daniel Jeremiah says in terms of he was a standout, not just one play, but he'll create articles like, here are the standout players from the Senior Bowl. And then I try to do that with, I think, Chad Reuter of NFL.com with the East-West Shrine Bowl as well. So to answer your question, the only cornerback that got a Senior Bowl or East-West Shrine Bowl bonus for us was Chris Johnson, cornerback out of San Diego State. I'm not done combing through, but as it sits right now, that would be the answer I would give you. And again, he's sitting in the 46th spot. and we have a 25.3 grade. If he were to fall to 52, run the card. Now, again, I haven't broke down his size. We haven't got the heart eye emojis yet on whether or not they meet the athletic threshold for Goody and how he likes to draft corners, but that's kind of how it sits right there. And that's Chris Johnson right there, cornerback out of Arizona. So,
right. Last one I'd ask about is just because it feels like we love Georgia guys so much. Daylen Everette, where does he fall on our board?
Mm-hmm. Daylen Everette. We do not have him in our top 50. Top 50 with a 150 grade, I should say. Okay. He did not make the list. So,
gotcha.
Now I could probably look over here on the board. Actually, let me off to the side here. That's kind of easy to do. You said Everett, right?
Yep, Daylen Everette.
Daylen Everette. Okay, so Daylen Everette. We've got a 193.3 on him. The consensus big board had him at 127, and the PFF big board had him at 73, and which is mind-boggling to me because the PFF big board has him at 73, and if I've got the number in here correctly, he graded out as the 380th best cornerback in 2025 according to PFF.
That's so weird, dude.
Yeah. I don't know how you do that. And again, that's why the way that we combat this, guys, with our board is we do it in a way that we give you a multitude of things that are applied to the board so you can remove that bias. Like if we only use the PFF big board and not the consensus big board, that would be swaying our board in a big way. But it is important to look at that and go, okay, there's a reason maybe PFF has him that high. So, but if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about the cornerback prospects? How do you feel about how the board is going to fall here? Okay. We want to hear from you. Let us know if there's a prospect that we didn't talk about that you liked a little bit more. Or if maybe there's a prospect we talked about we liked that you said, nah, I think he's going to be a bust. Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future content. All right, Jacob, let's move along now to offensive line. And I saved this for last because I feel like we've hit this pretty heavy. I don't know if you agree or not. We've really, really dove into offensive line in terms of the draft process. So I feel like we've covered it pretty well. We're still going to hit it today because the All-Star week obviously has wrapped up. And you'll see this gentleman over here on the right side of your screen that's just an absolute dog. Jennings. You got the bright red Iowa waterfall there. Also on the left there, you got Jake Slaughter, who I think is the best center in the draft, mainly because Connor Lew tore his ACL. Even if Connor Lew was healthy, Jake Slaughter would be the top center, although Connor Lew would be a little bit closer to Jake Slaughter than everyone else. Again, the injury, some are saying he won't be back till October. Some are saying, no, he's Superman. He'll be ready for week 1. It may be somewhere in between, right? But Jake Slaughter and Jennings Dunker, I put them at the top here for a reason. Now, we got to go a little bit quicker on this one because we're going to be covering interior offensive line in one section and then offensive tackle in the other, okay? So let's start with interior offensive line. And I know I'm going to butcher this name. I don't know if it's Loane or Lone. Offensive lineman out of Memphis. 18.4 is the grade. And, I'm going to be honest, when I see Memphis, Jacob, I think, okay, that's not a big, prominent, huge, college football program. So you got to be careful with some of the quote unquote smaller schools or less popular schools. However, everyone agreed here. 18.4 for us. Daniel Jeremiah has him as the 11th best prospect. So he's probably going to be off the board well before we pick. Consensus big board has him at 20. PFF big board has him at 22. Emmanuel Pregnon, guard out of Oregon. He was at the Senior Bowl. We've got a 43.2 on him. All right. However, consensus big board has him going at 32. Next on the list is Jake Slaughter. Now, again, this is our top center. They're lit up in blue. Connor Lew's in red because of the injury, just to kind of, hey, newsflash, guys, this guy's banged up. Watch what you got there. But Jake Slaughter, we've got a 44.4 grade on him as it sits right now. Walter Football had him at 50. Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in his top 50, okay? But the consensus big board has him at 93. The PFF big board has him at 78. So a 44.4 for us. If he falls to 52, he's probably not going to make it to the 80s. He'll probably be gone before then. So it's like, okay, it makes sense to take him there. To me, Jake Slaughter, and you get this every year, Jacob, Jake Slaughter is like the safe pick for center. Like, if you take him at 52 and he's sitting there, you feel really good about that. Now, he may go before that. He may end up creeping up. Some are saying he may creep up into the back side of the first round. I don't know. We'll
No,
see how
he reminds me of a Linderbaum, where it's like safe pick, just take him. You know what you're gonna get, and just like Linderbaum, he came into the league and he just was just steady Eddie. You know,
And
that's
it
what he kind of reminds me of.
And someone like a Zach Frazier or somebody we talked about in the past, right? Where it's just like, okay, I know this ain't the sexiest pick here, but he just seems like you have less of a chance of them being a huge bust, like a Josh Myers was, right? So next on the list is Connor Lew, 50.8. Consensus Big Board had him at 54. PFF had him at 64. Walter Football 46. He's outside of the top 50 for DJ. Again, I don't like taking Connor Lew because of the ACL, right? Like we need somebody you can plug and play right now, if at all possible, especially if you're going to use the 52nd pick on him. Next is a guy that just got added to the interior offensive line room, and that's Brian Parker II. It's becoming out multiple people reporting now that they're probably going to play him at center or guard because of his arms being shorter. So we've shifted him over from offensive tackle to interior offensive line. 57.8 for him. Consensus Big Board has him at 80. PFF Big Board has him at 102. It would look like a bit of a reach for us at 52, but let's say that everybody above him is gone other than Connor Lew. I would be okay with taking Brian Parker. He's slightly higher than Bo Stevens out of Iowa with a 65.0. Now, the thing about Bo Stevens, Consensus Big Board has him at 126. The PFF Big Board did not have him listed. Hopefully they do now, and we'll get that number in. So what you're looking at here, Jacob, and I'm going to get your thoughts on it and any prospects that you like here. Jake Slaughter and Brian Parker, if they're there at 52, it makes a lot of sense to take him, right? However, if you've got a cornerback that's significantly higher, like a Chris Johnson fall in your lap, you can look up and go, Bo Stevens and Keelan Rutledge in the next round makes a lot of sense too, if they fall that far, and you're risking them not falling that far. And keep in mind, Bo Stevens and Keelan Rutledge are not centers. So if you go get a Tyler Linderbaum in free agency, someone like that, and say that's our starting center, end of discussion. If you do that, then you can afford to take a corner with the 52nd pick and then grab a Bo Stevens or a Keelan Rutledge a little bit later. Again, we'll go talk tackles in a minute, but that's the interior offensive line. Who sticks out to you here, man?
I think that's a good point. It's kind of like a if and then type situation. If Linderbaum gets signed, I mean, I feel way better about what we're doing. And then honestly, I probably would start looking for a cornerback just because I feel like that's the number 2 need that we have on this team. And even, the fact that like, it's not a guarantee, obviously, that you're going to have a quarterback that just slips into the starting lineup as a rookie. I mean, that seems really, really rough nowadays. We've seen it happen. Obviously, in Philly, they had a couple good ones that they just plug and played and kind of thing. And, a lot of Packer fans are sitting here sick about it. But where do you have Chase Bisontis from A&M?
Yeah, Chase Bisontis has been a really interesting one. We've got a 94.3 on him. Okay, he's just below Pat Coogan. Let me say this real quick, since I'm glad you brought up Chase Bisontis, because right above him is Logan Jones from Iowa, center, Pat Coogan, center from Indiana. Okay, it's not that we don't like those prospects; those would be great picks for the Packers. A 77 for Logan Jones and 84.8 for Pat Coogan. Okay, keep in mind the Consensus Big Board thinks they'll be around at 107 and 140. So that's potential centers you could take in the 4th round, right? Now Chase Bisontis is right below them. He's listed as just truly a guard, 94.4. The problem, Jacob, is Consensus Big Board has him at 65. The PFF Big Board has him at 91. So in order to get him, let's say that the rest of the league held true to that, right, with Chase Bisontis. 65th, if he's going to be taken at 65, then that would mean, okay, in order for us to get him, we'd have to take him at 52. Well, we've got a 94.4 grade on him. I don't like that. Now, Daniel Jeremiah, former NFL scout, however, he's got him listed at 49. Now, that's helping him rise on our boards. So what's dragging him down on our boards? His PFF grade in 2025, he was the 301st best guard in college football. That's ugly. Now, if you go back to the Jaden Reed effect, however, Jacob, the Jaden Reed effect is the number that applies for us the most. The 24 grade, he was 102. So that's closer to that 94.4. So that helped him in that regard. Now, the year before, you got to kind of throw that out the window. I think it doesn't bake into our number, but I like to be able to look back and say, did they do it for 3 straight years? He was 472nd the other year. Now, bounce back up to Jake Slaughter. Perfect example. In terms of where he ranked amongst centers in according to PFF grades alone, in 23, he was 9th. 24, he's 6th. 25, he's 8th. So Jake Slaughter, solid across the board. Brian Parker out of Duke, 122, 43, 6. Ascending player there. So Jake Slaughter, steady Eddie, consistent. And you got Brian Parker, who is an ascending football player. So, yeah, but Chase Basantis, to me, as it sits right now, Jacob, it would have to be your 4th round. Let's see, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. It'd have to be your 5th round pick to make sense for me.
Okay, gotcha. I like what Chris the trucker says. As a diehard Florida Gators fan, in a perfect world, give me Slaughter and Barber and Banks. Trapped all 3, wishful thinking, but a brother can dream.
Absolutely. Hey, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. And there's a lot of Iowa fans that feel the same way about their 3 guys, right?
Yeah.
And you can really – what's mind-boggling, Chris, is like I'm trying to think of his name. I can't remember the head coach's name that got crap canned out. I could see his face, but they had to change coaching staff. They had to fire their head coach. It's like you see all this talent in Florida and they weren't able to win. It's wild. And most people will say, well, it's because it's the SEC. Well, I mean, the SEC, when was the last time they won a national title, right? And don't get me wrong, there's a ton of talent in Florida. You kidding me? Florida churns out NFL prospects. Like, that's a hell of a pipeline where everybody in the country is trying to tap into the Florida market. So we got to move along here to offensive tackle. Jacob, try to keep your tongue in your head here as we see our boy.
That's my boy.
Does that just not look like someone that would have been able to play right alongside Josh Sitton? Like, you know, he just looks, absolutely awesome. So I hope we find ourselves in a situation where if Jennings Dunker is on the board at 52, run the card. Run the freaking card. However, I don't know if he'll be there because his stock is skyrocketing. So let's look at some of the top offensive tackle. Billy Napier, you got it. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, man. They fired him 2 years too late, and I think all Florida fans agree with you. All right, so Spencer Fano out of Utah, 12.2 grade for him. Francis Muaga, if I'm saying it right, Muagoa out of Miami, a 12.9 for him, and he's projected to go top 10. These guys will be long gone before we pick. Caden Proctor, offensive tackle out of Alabama, a 20.0 for him. The consensus big board has him in the 19 spot, right around where we think. Now you got Jennings Dunker. Okay, Jennings Dunker, 25.8.
Dunker.
I hardly know her. He's a 25.8 on our board. However, the consensus big board had him at 34. The PFF big board had him at 44. When we do mock drafts with the consensus big board, he's actually available, right? So it's like, okay, we should be able to go get him. Well, the problem there is their information suggests he's going to be gone long before we get to 52. Now, what gives me hope that he might be there, Jacob? Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. He's not in his top 50. Now, that may change now, right, after coming out of Senior Bowl week, but we're going to keep these numbers in because this is how people felt before all the hype trains started. So that gives me a little bit of hope. Walter Football, not in the top 50. So what you've got is the PFF big board says he's going to be gone. The consensus big board says he's going to be gone. However, Daniel Jeremiah says he'll be there, again, pre-All-Star week. Walter Football says he's going to be there. And then also when we do the mock draft simulator with the consensus big board, they say he's going to be there. So you got 3 sources that are saying, hey, there's a realistic chance. And I go back to Dumb and Dumber and say, so you're telling me there's a chance?
What's all that 1 in a million talk?
Yeah, he's probably going to be gone, Jacob, unfortunately. But you and I can pray and hope and have fun until the draft gets here. So
I hope so. I mean, the guy just absolutely seems just like a match made in heaven. I think there was a comment earlier. Gosh darn it, I unerased it, but I think it said basically he's the Tucker Kraft of the offensive line. And that's like that to me is the highest praise. If you say I'm the Tucker Kraft of anything, like you can say I'm the Tucker Kraft of taking a, you know what, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty good at it then, like it just looks like he fits the part, man.
He's got some of the ink that looks like jailhouse tats, right? You love it, love that, right?
Let's go.
And then notice this too. Rest in peace to Paul Walker, but my gosh, does that not look like a beefed up Paul Walker over there? Goodness gracious.
It does kind of look
just like him, doesn't it? So anyway, all right. So let's try to pick out a couple here. I'm going to just name a couple that look like they would make sense. And again, I'm happy that a lot of these guys don't match up, Jacob, because we need interior help. And what scares me is us taking an offensive tackle and kicking them to guard and it not working out as good. Now, Brian Parker, that's a different story, right?
That's kind of what Mr. Real Deal is saying right here, I want to draft an O-lineman for their position of experience, not another guy we move around. And I completely agree with that. I'm kind of sick of that whole song and dance.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. I want to give a shout out to the Toddler 442 says, finally caught you boys live. Digging the show, fellas. Go Pack, go. Thank you so much, the Toddler. We greatly appreciate it. We got a bunch of new viewers, and you guys are helping get this show in front of a lot of other people. If everybody would just take a quick second, spin those laces, hit that like button for us so other Packer fans can find this podcast. We're going to be going live daily all off season. So welcome aboard, and appreciate you jumping in here in the kind words and everything, man. So a couple of names that grab our attention just by the numbers here. All right, let's look it over here. Blake Miller out of Clemson, offensive tackle, 41.8 grade, 57th on the consensus big board, 79th on the PFF big board. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 23. If he's there at 52, I'd be okay with it. Be a great pick. Not ideal. I don't want to try to kick him into guard, okay? And there may be a couple like Brian Parker that we talked about that played tackle and they're projecting offensive guard. That's different. But Jordan Morgan played left tackle his whole career. He's going to be a tackle, and then you kick him to right guard. Hate that. Absolutely hate it, right? So that's one that pops. Another one here that would be good value, and this is one of my favorite prospects. He dominated the Senior Bowl, Jacob. I mean, absolutely dominated. It's Max Ihanakor, if I'm saying the name right. So Ihanakor –
is that Arizona State guy?
Yeah, from Arizona State. 60.0 grade. Consensus big board has him at 71. PFF board had him at 118. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 42. He's probably going – or 41. He's probably going to be gone when we pick at 52. But if he's there, that's one I would love to have. That's one tackle I go, you know what? Too good of a talent. I'm okay with taking a tackle here. So that's a guy that comes to mind as well. And then the most value, and I know I'm going to screw the name up here probably. Maybe not. Delby Lemieux out of Dartmouth. Now, people are going, Dartmouth. Here's the problem with this one. If you remove the college, right, let me tell you how I would sell you on him, okay? 71 grade, 228. Could you imagine getting him in the 7th round or the 6th round of the draft and getting somebody that's a 71th graded talent? Now, PFF grade in 24, not. We don't have a grade for 25. I'll try to find out why, and we'll light that up red if it's because of an injury. He may be hurt as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Might as well be from Cornell. Have you ever heard of it?
Valdosta State, right? So that 71 is appealing, but again, small school. So, it is what it is. Like it's like Emilio. Emilio wants us to take every prospect out of Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo's a small school. We got to be careful. Although it looks like they've got another Sean Dolak coming out. We'll talk about that when we get to linebacker. It's wild.
Or he wants a guy from South Georgia State, right?
His name is Red Murdoch. Look into Stackbacker Red Murdoch. He's battling an ankle right now. They're trying to get him ready before the start of the combine and everything. He was at, I think, the Senior Bowl or the East-West Shrine Bowl. He was on the sideline. But Red Murdoch looks like another one just like Sean Dolak. And people laughed, those people being me, that Emilio was so high on Sean Dolak, right? And, when we went and looked at the PFF grades, he didn't play a whole lot of snaps in the NFL, but he graded out in like the 90s. He was the top graded rookie, if I remember correctly, last year. So
let's not give Emilio that much credit. All right. Where do you have, just because I have to ask, Wisconsin offensive tackle Riley Mahlman? Is he anywhere in the vicinity of being draftable?
Yeah, we just went with everyone who had a grade of 150 or lower. Okay, so he did not make the list. Now I can look over on the board real quick. Let me do that. Offensive tackle. What's the name again, Jacob? One more time.
Riley Mahlman. Just because, guy from Wisconsin, his last name's Mahlman. Come on.
So this is strictly a name thing. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Well, no, it's a Wisconsin thing and a name thing.
Oh, no, I see. Yeah. So Riley Mahlman, we've got a 213.4 on him. Now, here's the good news. Now, there's going to be other prospects available when we take our 7th round pick. I promise you there'll be guys with a higher grade than Riley Mahlman. But just theoretically speaking, we got a 213.4, which says he's worthy of the 213th pick. The consensus big board has him at 392. The PFF big board has him at 244.
Yeah, mock database has him at 286. So, So
it might be a 7th rounder or an undrafted free agent potentially, right? So, Very interesting name. Yeah, again, it'd be great value with your last pick in the draft, according to our board. But like I said, I just know there's going to be a lot of other players that are higher than him, you know. Yeah.
Where do you have a guy named Cage Casey?
Cage Casey. He's
Boise
not
State.
actually. Yeah, there he is right there. So we've got him on our list here. Cage Casey. We've got an 81 for him. He's 104 on the consensus big board, okay. 181 on the PFF big board. That would be great value if we got him. Again, there'll be other prospects higher than him probably at the tackle position when we pick in the 80s. But if he were to fall to, you know, the let's say to the 150 mark, then maybe in the 5th round, take him. That would be great value. And maybe that's where you do take a tackle, Jacob, and try to bolster the offensive line too, right? Get one of these great late round.
Do a Sheed Walker 2.0.
Yeah, right. All right, we need to wrap this segment up. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the offensive tackle position? Do you, and offensive line in general, I'm sorry, interior offensive line and offensive tackle, do you feel the same way we do about offensive tackle? Like Joseph said in the chat, you don't want to go draft an offensive tackle and kick him to guard unless he's projected to do that, right? You don't want to find yourself in that same situation, which there's precedent for that. Is there any of the interior offensive linemen that you feel like, yes, that's definitely worthy of the 52nd overall pick, or would you rather go corner? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you're always here when we hit that go live button. All right, Jacob, we got everything in there, man. Anything else you want to talk about here before we wrap up, man? Anything at all?
No, I'm good. I got a lot of pirate comments in the chat. I understand that. All right. It was just a fashion choice. I didn't think about it. I just woke up, threw the hair back, and had to put on the old Pirates of the Caribbean.
And if Emilio was in there, he'd hit you with the screen grab. He had one created. But
I don't know who did. No, he's got it. The pirate from Dodgeball, right?
Yeah. I got all kinds of good ones in here, though. This is probably my favorite. Right here. So that's there you go. He's got the band, the do-rag on. That one looks clean. That's a good-looking wing, too. That thing's wet. Let's go, man. You kidding me? That's what I'm talking about. So this guy right here, you think he eats wings? I doubt it. I bet he just eats sushi.
That's just mean. Like Beardy Depp. Come on, man.
That's right. One of my favorite guys to interact with on Twitter. He always comments on my tweets, and the name of his Twitter account is Not Johnny Depp. That's it. And it's got a picture of Captain Jack Sparrow. And every time that he says, I would rather him do this than that, I always respond with, why should we listen to you? You're not Johnny Depp. Every time. He just laughs every time. I don't know who he is. He may be a viewer on YouTube. Everybody's got so many different burner accounts and everything. I'll literally get, there you go, Page and Dr. Crush knows it. I'll get DMs from people and go, hey, I'm so-and-so, man, from the channel. I'm like, okay, cool. And then you'll see him tweet again, hey, I'm so-and-so from the channel. It's like, how many accounts do you have on this? So, yeah. All right. So nothing else you want to hit, Jacob? We good, man? Ready to wrap
should
up?
Be all right.
All right. Awesome, guy. I want to thank everybody for jumping in here, man. This was an absolute blast. Joseph says, thanks, guys. Best damn program. I love how he puts the U in there. Program in the interwebs. Yeah, that's right. So we greatly appreciate everybody hanging out. Make sure you hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. Click the bell icon. Also, if you're on Spotify, go ahead and start searching for Packer Fan Total Access. We're going to have an overflow of extra audio content going on to that. We're also going to get it up on iTunes as well. So make sure you guys look for that. And, yeah, that'll be another hub for you guys that just get in a podcast.
I did just search it. It is available. So, yeah,
perfect.
Check us out.
And again, it's in the early stages, so we got to fine tune some stuff. We'll try to get it set up to where people can find it easier. But again, that's Packer Fan Total Access. And then, of course, the show will still be Packers Total Access. That's just, yeah, that's going to be the name of it there. So, all right, Jacob, appreciate your time, man. And yeah, Mike Z, thank you, buddy. Everybody in here, appreciate you, Chuck. You guys are awesome. Y'all been here since day one. And, of course, Chris in Alabama, love it. Appreciate everybody jumping in and talking ball. We'll be back later. If news breaks, especially, we'll go live. I got to go do some snow removal at a contract that I got over here at a bank close to the house. So I'm gonna be out there in 10-degree weather with a backpack blower, looking like a Ghostbuster out there, Jacob. You know how it is, man. We'll be out there moving that snow. So.
I feel like you're one of those guys that has a flamethrower. You ever seen those clips where they're just
man? That's so tempted. So tempted. I showed it to Mandy one night. She went, no. I'll be that guy that y'all see on the news that a security camera caught where it blows up on his back and I'm running around in a circle, you know?
Yeah.
That would be me. No doubt about it. So, all right. Everybody have a great day. Appreciate you. Hit that like button. We'll be back later. Make sure you got that bell icon clicked so you don't miss out on it when we do go live. My name's Clayton. That's Jacob. This is PTA. Go, Pack, go.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.